this is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome to Potentially Dangerous. This is episode 87, presented by My House. I'm your host, Tony Hager, my co-host, Ross Bartchek. We are trying something out a little new tonight. BeLive.tv has a feature where you can get us up on Facebook. It's a live show. You know, we had a lot of fans that, you know, enjoyed this, the live version of this, and we kind of went away with it because some of the platforms that we used weren't the best or reliable. So hopefully this one's more reliable for us. So, but man, Ross, we're back. Last week, if you haven't listened to it, Mac Ryder, 4-time state champ, 3-time All-American from Minnesota, jumped on to talk with Eric Shares, our 1A guy. And it was a fun episode. It was a refreshing episode and a long one, an hour preview of the U.S. Open. What'd you think of those guys?
Man, first impression was it was great to have Eric back on the podcast doing his thing. I know quite a few people enjoy listening to Eric. And man, I was walking my dog when I was listening to it this week. I'm not gonna lie, and I was just like, I just remember being struck when Max started talking about how when he had some stretch where he wrestled like Joey Slayton. Then the next, 2 days later, he had to go wrestle Coleman Scott and Zach Tonelli. And he was talking about just like all these 33-pounders back then. Some of them still kind of relevant today. And just kind of to think about, obviously I knew Mac growing up where I did, East Buchanan. So we wrestled Bosco, familiar with Mac. And just kind of crazy to think about all those guys just how tough 133 was back then. I loved it.
Yeah, it was good Mac and I wrestled quite a bit growing up and in high school. And it's kind of crazy he's got a ton of knowledge, obviously, about everything going on in the country. So, I definitely hope that we have Mac Ryder back again. He was definitely somebody that we want on again that can bring into the national scene a little bit sometimes. Sometimes we get just stuck up on Iowa a little bit, and we've got people that listen to us all over the country, so we'll definitely have Mac Ryder on again sometime. But this, obviously they did an hour-long preview with the U.S. Open, and it's gone. It's gone now. It went by so fast. Able to watch bits and pieces of it, able to follow results. But obviously Saturday night, the big one, the U.S. Open. Tony Ramos picking up a win, but we had a lot of things happen leading up to this. Tony Nelson Brands and Caden Sauer picked up. They were double Greco freestyle winners at Western Regionals. Was anything out of the ordinary from Brands? I guess it looks like he just dominated through this bracket. I didn't get to watch any of his matches. I know Kurt did, but did you get to see any?
I didn't watch any real time, and Brands is just it's incredible what he's doing. He went up to 160. I feel like he's not cutting very much weight, so to see the kind of dominance he's putting out there was pretty impressive for me. I teched his way through most of his matches, so there's really not a whole lot to take away other than Brands was just a man among boys this weekend.
This guy, I went through, all our YouTube stuff. I've looked on track. Anything that Brands is on, it just people are intrigued by by him. It's obviously the Brands name helps a little bit, but he's backing it up, and I felt like he handled his interviews pretty well. What are your thoughts on just kind of his maturity and how he kind of handles himself?
Brands interviews are always, whether it's Tom, Terry, and Nelson's clearly got the knack for it too. He's got a good head on his shoulders, And you like you said, you're the guy that's interviewed him at a lot of the state tournament stuff and got to, just listen what he's thinking. He's not shy about some of his thoughts and feelings. The thing that sticks out to me is I think when he beat Barnes, it was after that match. He was talking about his go-to shot, what's he's going to do in his first state finals match, and you were just kind of like, I think Brands just gave us his entire state finals game plan in an interview. So he's a confident kid that comes off a lot in his interviews. So I love listening to Nelson.
And Caden too. This is a guy that a lot of people don't know. We obviously know of him, what he did this year, but I think on the national scene, I think he might have turned some heads a little bit. I've heard that he's committed to go somewhere, but that's one of those guys I think are uncommitted. I don't know for sure if he is committed. What do you know about Caden's future?
Man, I don't know. That 95 weight class in 3A was stacked between him, Corbin from West Des Moines Valley. All those guys probably could have a really good career, going forward. I think was it Wisconsin lacrosse where we think Sauer's headed?
That's what I heard,
sure.
But I feel like I'm confusing him with somebody else. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but after this weekend, I feel like he's going to get some more calls.
Yeah, if he's not signed, he's definitely a steal waiting to happen.
So another thing too, this past weekend, not wrestling related, but Tristan Wirfs, and he picked up that Drake relay title for discus and shot put, and set the all Iowa record and national record for the shot put. This is that's another great topic for this weekend. After besides the U.S. Open, this is Tristan Wirfs going and dominating that. You see some of these multi-sport athletes, and they're always rising to the top. And I feel like in today's world, we have people that are specializing a little bit. And the proof is in the pudding. I think someone put out out of all the draft picks, 80% of them were multi-sport athletes. So get out there, do more sports, go out for track, baseball. Obviously, there's plenty of time to do freestyle, so make it happen.
I've always enjoyed that our state's heavyweights. We tend to see a lot of good football players come over. Obviously, Austin Blythe sticks out to you, three-timer. The Paulson brothers each kind of took a turn there for Woodbury. Brinkman in 1A. Schott was he's a runner-up in 1A. Both those guys going to play Division I football and Division, what is that, FCS for UNI. So I love seeing those big guys. It kind of makes it, our state look better when you got heavyweights that are out there scoring points and dominating matches. That's always makes, the state tournament more fun when you got guys that are going out there doing some action.
And then before we get to the big, the UWWs where we had tons of people wrestling in, the Independence Freco tournament. Did you check out some of these results? Look at
slacking.
It's all. There were some heavy hitters in this tournament. Tristan Lara wrestled Millage. Millage is clear up. Let's see if I can find this weight class quick. Drevin Ross was there, and then Drew Bennett wrestled at this. Brock Henderson, Matt Robertson. Brock ended up beating Robertson. That was in Greco, but this is crazy.
Jack Thompson won it his weight. Cale Happel over Evan Yant. Man, I tell you what, Independence between their, that regular season tournament they got kicking off the year, and it seems like last year their freestyle and Greco tournament were, it had a lot of good names in it as well. So Independence is really stepping up. It's kind of they're trying to grow that regular season tournament to bring in more out-of-state teams. They're really growing into just a place to have a tournament. It's full of names.
Oh, it's a big gym, and I think that helps. And they're good at marketing, I think, and that always helps. So I wanted to get back to this Lara bracket. So he Tech Millage 12-1. Holschlag beat Millage 7-2, and Lara beat Holschlag 6-1. So that was a crazy bracket. And then look at this bracket: Bennett, Kiner, and Teskey in a round robin. Bennett and Brody didn't wrestle, but Kiner beat Bennett 16-11, and Teskey beat Kiner 16-8. So that was a heck of a weight class as well.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
I wish I could see their actual weights for this. That'd be a little more interesting, get a little more perspective on what's going on here. But yeah, that's a pretty high level matches that, fans got to see.
I'd be curious if they gave up any kind of weight to make it happen, or how that worked. Here's another round robin: Cale Happel, Evan Yant, Ben Monroe. That's a pretty sick couple names there as well at that tournament.
Yeah, like I said, man, Independence, they put on a tournament. When you know they got something going on, whether you want to go compete at it to get some good matches, or you want to go watch some good wrestling, go to Independence.
So let's get to the UWWs. Big name, obviously, that everybody wanted to see. Alex Thompson. We haven't been able to see him since the state championship. Had to wrestle Dayton Fix in the semis, and we were kind of chatting back and forth, and really going to see where he stacks up against the best guys around the country, and he ended up getting teched by Fix. I think that's just. Do you think that is Thompson just not one of the best guys in the country, or is Fix just that good?
I'm taking Fix as that good. This is a guy. I mean, he beat Stefan Micic as a high school sophomore. Last year he tore through this tournament, and he beat Austin Gomez, who I think we're both high on, and then he beat Gavin Teasdale, who probably going to be in this weight at the trials later this summer. So, Dayton Fix is he's really on another level. There's a reason he's got 2 world level medals. But Thompson, maybe this was definitely a good tournament for him. Some good results in there.
Yeah, and he ended up beating D'Amelio 9-4. I think that's a good win for him. The Drew Matten match, I didn't get to watch that one, but he got teched there. But he wrestled really good against D'Amelio. So there's some good stuff to take away from that tournament. So I just want to see more of it. Him and his coaches have a plan for him, and hopefully he can learn something from the Fix. That tech, maybe make him realize where he's got to go. But Swift pulled up another AA2 as well with Midkiff at the same weight class.
Yeah, Midkiff was a big surprise. Not obviously not as big of a name, but beating Pat McKee, that's a big win. Obviously, D'Amelio was his Achilles heel, beating him twice this weekend, but you can't be not impressed with what McGuire did out there. I would say I was actually at a 55. The more surprising thing was to see Iowa State's Danny Vega didn't even place. I think he's going to have a pretty big lead in for that 125 spot this year. And 2-2, that's really not going to cut it for Iowa State.
No.
But 9-9 to Drew Mateen. That's not the end of the world. I think we all know that Vega's a little bit on the smaller side. Mateen's probably coming down. Vega he's probably a pretty comfortable 55 kilo guy. So I wouldn't be like, it's not the end of the world, but it's something to, hopefully he can add some size. He's probably going to go to World Team Trials. Maybe he'll go to universities and he'll go up to 57, and he can work on getting bigger, because I think that should be the main goal for Danny Vega, to be ready to go for 125 pounds come this fall.
And there's been a lot going on, obviously, in the last couple months too. You don't know how much that room has been open, and was he a guy that loved KJ, or is he a guy that's open to the new coaching staff. There's a lot of things going on in Ames, and I don't really fault anybody for maybe having a bad tournament. So, Danny Vega, obviously, Iowa State wants more out of him if he's going to be a 125-pounder. And, speaking to somebody that people, have wanted to see on the mat, that we haven't got to see a whole lot, Paul Glenn from Iowa at 60 kilograms. I think he had a heck of a tournament. He got 7th, but he went 6-2, and had some pretty good wins.
A lot of matches in there too. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches on the weekend. Biggest thing is, Paulie making that weight. I know that's something I talked to him a little bit at a couple practices this spring, and he's looking forward to this tournament and then World Team Trials, which he's obviously qualified now with the 7th place finish there. But, I think back to when he was a true freshman, he tried to go 33 at Midlands, missed weight, had to go up to 41. So, I didn't know how bad of a cut that was going to be for him, but maybe, he's older. He's got college under his belt a little bit more, and maybe he can, make 60 kilos. Maybe he can make 133 a legitimate thing. There's an opening.
Yeah, I say that's going to be a spot that the Hawkeyes are going to need somebody. Tom Brands came on Takedown Radio, and it sounds like Phillip, he's really this is going to be his spot, I guess, or he's not going to go down to 25, which we thought we might see. So who's all going to be contending for that 133-pound spot?
Depends on what they want to do with Jack Wagner and Justin Stickley. But between one of those guys maybe going down to 25, wrestling off with Perez. Other than that, you got Phil, maybe Paul Glenn, and one of those two guys that doesn't win 25, but they're a little thinner there than they'd probably like to be.
Carter Happel's not going down because there's been people on Twitter that have put him in the lineup at 33 and 41, 33. I've seen all kinds of crazy numbers, and Carter Happel I don't think can make it down there.
I think you'll probably be at 41.
Yeah, I don't think he can get down. But say sticking at that weight class. Briar Cochran went 1-2, lost to Nick Lee in the quarters. Obviously, Nick Lee, we all know that name. That was kind of tough draw there for him. That's a guy that really came out of nowhere his senior year and will continue to grow. I don't know where he fits in that lineup, but I think he's a good guy to have in the room. A great head on his shoulders, and he'll definitely be a contributor in some way or shape or form for that team. We were talking about Carter Happel at 66 kilograms, a kind of a weird tournament, I guess, for me. Him losing to Keegan Shaw, I wouldn't, if I saw that one that was going to be on paper, that's definitely one that I would have given to Carter Happel based off of, obviously their high school, what they did in high school. Obviously, Shaw's been putting in the work, or maybe, Carter doesn't have the best freestyle accolades, the way it is. But do you read into that a lot? Is Carter not coming along, or is Shaw just better at freestyle than Happel?
I don't know if I want to say he doesn't have the best freestyle accolades. He's got he made that cadet freestyle title. I think he was 3rd out at Fargo for juniors. I think his only loss might have been to Nick Lee, who we just talked about at 63 kilos. I think he would have been better off at 63 this weekend. And if it was a world weight, he probably would have been there. We interviewed him in season. We're talking like January. He's saying, 141 wasn't tough cut for him. So if you're making 141 pretty easy in January, you're probably doing a lot of things right, which I'm sure he was. And, that's probably a really good weight for you. So I think 63, if it was world weight, that's probably where we'd see him. It's not. So he tried his hand at 66 kilos to get qualified for the I guess as being a prior world team member for the cadets, I think he's already qualified for world team trials, but help his seed out for that. And obviously it just didn't work out for him. But it just kind of, I don't know if he just kind of came out flat in that first match. And, after that happens, it's probably a little tough to get back mentally for those consolation matches right away.
Yeah, I mean, he won 4 matches in a row. So, I mean, that's a lot of wrestling, especially out in Vegas. There's a lot going on. So, I don't think Hawkeye fans should read too much into it, I guess. I don't want to take anything away from Shaw, but that's definitely not a match I saw Shaw beating Carter Happel.
For sure.
Daniel Murphy went 3-2, picked up a couple wins, lost in the round of 16. Didn't have any big name wins, I guess. And the guy that obviously we definitely need to talk about this weight class, Iowa State, is just. This is their guy. This is the coming of Jesus for Iowa State. Kanan Storr ended up getting second place, losing to Deacon 8-6, but beat Lugo in the semis 8-7. Tex Shaw, who beat Carter. So I don't know if that gives you kind of a gauge of where these two are at. Everyone wants to see the Happel Storr matchup based off of kind of what we know a little bit about the history there. But I mean, the win over Lugo is big, I think. What are your thoughts on Storr's match?
Well, it's huge to beat Lugo, especially when you think Lugo's a 49-pounder who beat Brandon Sorensen out at the Edinburgh duel for the national duel. So it's a huge win for Storr, who's going to be a 41-pounder. Like you said, everyone's been talking about that Storr-Happel match. And the 2 times they've been in a similar tournament was like Fargo. They were both on the opposite side. They both lost to Nick Lee. They were both at the UNI Open together. And Happel ran into Tommy Thorne there in the semis, who later beat Kanan Storr. So it was always like they were just always on the opposite side. Storr finished second, Happel finished third, and we were finally going to get our chance. Just to kind of see what that matchup could look like between a couple potential 41 starters for those 2 teams. And, it did come to fruition. But outside of that match against Deacon, who's also a 49-pounder, Storr looked pretty dang tough. I mean, he looked damn near unbeatable.
Was he the one that was wrestling? Did he have the IA Wrestle singlet, or was that Happel?
Happel was rocking the IA Wrestle singlet this weekend. Storr's was blue, so I guess I don't really get to see. I don't remember what he was wearing, but so. Hey,
those singlets. I'm glad that people are getting them to use. We've seen more at West Gym singlets at some of these freestyle. Julian Broderson just been rocking his about everywhere he goes. I think he goes to school and has wore a West Gym singlet. So kudos to those guys for rocking those singlets. And Night of Conflict is, we could put a plug in here for Night of Conflict. Tickets are on sale. VIP tickets are on sale. We've sold, 15 VIP tickets, $100 for a ticket, and you're guaranteed a spot right on the mat. And I can't wait to put these matches together. What's going to suck, though, I just found out, and I'm just kind of letting you know this right now. I'm just going to take a drink here. Is I can't go.
Yeah, that's kind of horse hockey there, Hager.
Yeah, I've got a wedding. My best man at my wedding, my cousin, is getting married up in Waterloo, so I am actually got to go to the rehearsal dinner and get ready. My son's in the wedding too, so I got to help him get practice and stuff like that. So I'm gonna miss Night of Conflict. Somehow I'm gonna somehow watch it on stream, but
for sure. If you don't watch it on stream, I'll be disappointed. It better be on at the rehearsal dinner or something.
Yeah. So, you guys are gonna have to pick up the slack and got to put something together that we've been known to have some kind of a good way to, I guess, the event started last time we had some pretty special moments, and we'll have some more of those too as well. But okay, move on to guys. 66 kilograms. Obviously, Shaw, great tournament, beating Happel, picking up 8th place. Went 3-3. Alex Marinelli made the finals. Had Mark Hall, and obviously this was a big matchup. Name-wise, I think same age, both true freshmen. Obviously, Marinelli, red shirt in here, but Mark Hall texts him. Just comes out and blows him apart. I mean, do you think Marinelli gave him just too much credit?
I don't know, man. Mark Hall's got his number. What was it? The Dream Team Classic that they wrestled in against each other too. That was in Minnesota, and Hall didn't, make him look too good in that event either. So I don't know. It also probably helps that Mark Hall is probably really built for 74 kilos. He's coming down to this weight. Marinelli's he's right at that 165 sweet spot. I think the biggest thing to be excited about is that 7-5 win over David McFadden. He was an All-American for Virginia Tech 2 seasons ago, redshirted this past season. So Marinelli getting that win in the semifinals. There's been a lot of talk that maybe Marinelli doesn't look big for a 65-pounder, but going toe-to-toe with David McFadden, who, some people are talking about him maybe moving up to 74 because he's kind of a bigger 65-pounder. So I thought that was probably the highlight to take away. Mark Hall, like we talk about with Dayton Fix being a world-level athlete, that's what Mark Hall is. Marinelli, he came from St. Paris Graham. He doesn't wrestle that freestyle. He hasn't his whole life, like Mark Hall. So, are you worried about it?
You kind of took what I was going to talk as
my bad.
No. My point was going to be that he hasn't been wrestling freestyle. Jordan didn't want him training freestyle. So talk about a guy with no accolade, not a whole lot of accolades. He has zero. So I think he started wrestling a little freestyle his senior summer. So he's got good offense, but freestyle, I just maybe his feet. I feel like freestyle is a little more quicker than folk style. And I just don't know if he was ready for kind of those attacks and how quick, stuff can happen. You get taken down, laced, done. That's just a completely different style that, that's why when you see some of these high school results, we've got a lot of guys, cadets, juniors that are trying wrestling, which absolutely love. Our state needs it. I think our state's doing a real good job of. We've had more opportunities for kids wrestling this year than we've ever had. I don't remember a time when there was 2 tournaments on a Saturday, 2 or 3 on Sunday in our state, and it's helping. It's going to help us in the future, and I'm really happy to see it with Iowa USA Wrestling. And really, I don't know what Iowa USA Wrestling's hand is in that. I think it's more of coaches around the state grabbing a hold of it because we've seen some other coaches. Well, really, there's like a main group of 5 coaches that have been pushing freestyle and Greco in our state, and now we're starting to see them having their influence on other coaches. Like, if you want to win state titles, you got to be doing freestyle and Greco in the summer. So I feel like more coaches are open to that. And if you're not, these kids are going to transfer. We've seen it. If these schools aren't open to wrestling in the summer, kids are going to go out and try to find partners in the summer, and that's when talks start happening. Hey, you can fit in the lineup pretty damn well right here. Why don't you come over here? We'll give you the partners. We'll wrestle all summer, and that's where these transfers happen. So, good coaches needed to do more of this. So, anything else on Marinelli?
No, I think we're kind of hitting on it that he looks about as good as you would expect. We saw somebody pop up in the comments that Mark Hall's also a national champ, in addition to being a junior world champion. So Marinelli, I kind of just wanted to hit on that. I think you're right, where his style is very well suited to folk style. He's earned that nickname Bull, where I feel like he's more of that constant pressure, that constant forward. Relentless, that is better suited to folk style in terms of how you control the mat and go about it that way. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I just don't know if a lot of Iowa fans realize that Marinelli doesn't have a freestyle background. So it's not a loss where you'd be like, well, if Marinelli Hall wrestle, that's just, we're going to get destroyed there. So,
well, think about, I think one of the first matches we saw Marinelli do freestyle, I mean, he very green at it, was at Aegon. We called him wrestling Josh Shields from Franklin Regional. And if you think back to that match, Tony, it was, no parterre. And we actually saw a parterre this weekend. So definitely something to be excited about. His freestyle game's developing. So it's leaps and bounds better than it was at Aegon.
It wasn't the rules different too? Wasn't a takedown 1 point at Aegon at that point?
No, I think that was like the first year of the new rules.
Okay.
Maybe.
I can't remember. It feels like it's been forever. So let's move on here. Joey Gunther, 3-2. I guess maybe the biggest thing to take away from there is beating Moody, fellow teammate, 4-0 in the consies. So that's really kind of the only name that sticks out of my mind of kind of a takeaway from there. Moving up to 79 kilograms, Caleb Young got second place, so heck of a tournament from him. I think a lot of people were excited about Caleb Young finding a spot in the lineup this year. Where do you think Caleb's going to end up weight-wise?
I think this proves that he's going to 74. I don't know why he'd go up to 79. It's not a world weight. So there's no reason to wrestle this unless, your goal right now is to put on some size. And, I guess I don't know what his plan will be. I think, Iowa's planning on sending a lot of guys to that University Nationals in Akron, Ohio. I don't know what he'll do, if he'll try to go down to 74 for both of those. Obviously, you can still be a 74 and cut down. We see Mark Hall do it. So it's not like he can't keep adding size, but it'd be interesting to see if he tries to go 80 for that. That's kind of what the next marker to watch for with Caleb Young and what he's going to do.
So moving up to 84 kilograms, you got Kate Brownlee, went 3-2. Evan Hansen, Grandview went 2-2. Colbray for Iowa State. This is the best finish they had here at UWW, going 6-1. And I guess a name or a win, I guess, that I to take away from this would be Dermstadt, 13-2 Tech Fall. That was probably one of the biggest wins he had. Obviously he beat Singletary 4-1 in the semis, but that Dermstadt win is the one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, I think I really thought he was going to have a chance to win this, to go on and get that bye for the Junior World Team Trials, and give Colin Moore, who I think Tom Ryan came out on Twitter and said, Ohio State had some finals or had a test or something, but they said Colin is going to go to Junior World Team Trials, so he'll be back. But I thought Colbray was going to be their best shot at putting somebody on a junior. I can't believe I'm saying that with Kanan Storr, but he still looked like the better option to win this tournament. And he had that slip up there in the quarters where he lost in criteria. And I don't know. I'm really excited to see what he can do, in Lincoln, to see if he can make that junior world team. Cause they got two guys right now, him and Storr, that could be wrestling there. And that would be something, that'd be some big momentum for that Cyclone team.
Yeah. They got to have Colbray and Storr step up big next year. And, sticking with Iowa State, Gannon Gremmel went 3-2, Fargo national champ last year. Lost to Brandon Metz, our boy, a West Gym guy. South Dakota?
North Dakota.
North Dakota boy. Tech Gremmel.
That was, that was another weight I thought that was going to, be a big weight for the Cyclones. And I guess the only thing I can think of is maybe, too much time off the mat I know he was injured to begin the year. And we really didn't see him, wrestle a whole lot for Iowa State. So I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully we see some better things from Gannon, because we know he's got that potential.
So, overall, I guess, looking at the UWWs, what's one thing that's you take away from this and be like, hey, this is a good story, or you learn a little bit more about somebody? What's one story in this that you take away, good or bad?
I guess, to me, it's still Kanan Storr. We knew he was good. He obviously proved that at the Dave Schultz, but, taking out Patrico Lugo, that's some big news there. To be right there. His only loss was to a guy that took third at the Midlands. I'm thinking, there's some really good stuff that could come out of Kanan Storr, and I hope he makes the junior world team.
Kanan Storr is obviously the guy they needed at Iowa State. I'm glad that they kept him around. I thought that if they didn't keep the Paulsons, he was gone. But everything looks like his girlfriend's there. So I don't think that he's leaving Iowa State anytime soon. So that's good news for Iowa State fans. Got to have him. This will be a big year for them. Biggest takeaway, I guess, for me.
What is it?
I would say probably Alex Thompson, for one, just being in this event. He's the only guy that in high school for Iowa that stepped up, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
For him to even throw his hat in the ring, I think is big. It's big for Alex Thompson. Really not a guy that's afraid of competition, obviously, on the freestyle level. I like him wrestling freestyle more than folk style, and I think that's only going to help him. I'm just really kind of curious if he's going to, do some Greco at Fargo. But, just the fact that Thompson wrestled in it, I think is pretty cool. I would have liked to see Teskey in it. Obviously, he went to Independence. But I
think we will see Thompson and Greco at Fargo. I think he's planning on it.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants, but I don't know if his coaches are going to let it happen, I guess. So, but all right, let's move on to the show, the U.S. Open. Obviously, Shares and Ryder talked about over an hour just previewing it. So,
yeah, they picked. I think didn't they pick? God, they had like Tomasello, Megaludis, and Garrett, I want to say, were their guys at this weight.
I can't remember. I should have wrote down what picks they were so I can talk crap to Shares.
I'm pretty sure Shares he picked Tomasello. I'm not 100%. I'm going to throw some shade on him if he did.
I feel like Ryder was on Sanders a little bit. I think he thought Sanders was going to – I think Sanders had a good tournament. But I was on the record saying that Ramos would come and win this tournament. My boy over here. No hate from me for Tony Ramos. So
Eric's already called me out saying he picked Ramos. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the tape.
He said Cher says he's not an Iowa homer, but he definitely is an Iowa homer. So everyone says we're Iowa homers, but Tony Ramos isn't a Hawkeye anymore. Hawkeye fans have thrown him in the dumpster. Well, a lot of them have. But some of them still support him. So there's definitely a lot of support from Iowa fans, I think, on social media anyways. So
second U.S. Open title for Tony. So here's my question for you. What are your takeaways from how Ramos wrestled in this tournament? Obviously a lot of tight matches. So what are your takeaways from it?
I think Tony looked better on his feet than he has in the past. I think going back to looking at him at the trials, and I did watch some of his matches, I feel like he's real timid and almost wrestled a little defensive style. And he still kind of has that a little bit, but I feel like his feet were moving a little bit more. So he's not susceptible to some of those single legs and double legs. I mean, tons of people got in on his legs at the World Team Trials. And at the U.S. Open, I felt like he looked better on his feet. And it wasn't flashy, but, dude, he's a gamer. I put it on Twitter that he just wins, and he's been winning a lot of big matches. Obviously, Dan Dennis, he got mopped up on that. But there's a lot of outside factors that Tony was dealing with during that tournament that a lot of people don't know about, which are going to come out. But I just feel like I feel like Tony looked better, and he wasn't talking a ton of smack like he kind of was leading up to it. So I don't know if that helped him a little bit, but not exciting. But he did enough to get the job done, and that's what he's always done.
I know. I wish he would open it up. I feel like right now he's getting by on being. He's definitely more savvy in that neutral position, and he's got that experience on those guys like Garrett, Megaludis. He's been overseas a little bit more, so he's just kind of got that little bit of an edge right now. And I really want to see him, open up his leg attacks, because if he's firing on those, he's going to be tough to beat. Obviously, his parterre's never been, something amazing, but I just would like to see Tony get on top more so we can see him in that parterre position more.
He's going to need that to win a world title. So that, like I said, he has that defensive tendencies, and I get what you're saying, that he needs to pick up that offense, because you can't keep those matches. You can't. I feel like he always wins in the clutch, but that's going to bite him in the ass someday.
But biggest benefits, he's going to be in that best of 3 finals right now. Not sure if Dan Dennis is coming back. He's obviously got an automatic berth to the World Team Trials. Thomas Gilman would have to wrestle at the last chance qualifier. We can even talk about Gilman's chances of getting into the trials if you want. But, I mean, who's the biggest threat to being it opposite Ramos in those best of 3 finals to you?
I would have to say
it's an impossible question, because there's a lot of
this weight class is just loaded. I mean, I think Nico is stubborn as Ramos is. I think Garrett's got more offense than Ramos, Nahshon Garrett. Tomasello's got some defense to him. So I mean, if I had to pick 2 guys that could knock him off, I would pick Garrett or Megaludis.
I mean, those are both good picks, but I could just envision a world where Gilman makes he's there at the World Team Trials, and he's on the opposite side of Tomasello and Megaludis. Tomasello's never lost to Megaludis, so he beats him. Then you have a Megaludis-Gilman matchup. Tomasello Gilman, and we all know Gilman's he's only lost one time. I think he's like 1-5 or 5-1 against Tomasello. So I could just envision a world where Gilman finds a way to come through, it could be Tyler Graff, it could be a whole bunch of people that it's going to depend on matchups, because obviously Gilman didn't have the best luck with Megaludis. Garrett could cause some problems. So I think it kind of depends where other guys match up. That's really going to be what happens. I don't know if you can pick it. That's why I kind of gave you this question.
Yeah, Gilman. I don't feel like we can talk about him until he gets in it. But obviously, he's got a great freestyle background. So I think I don't know. I don't Gilman. I don't feel like Gilman's going to be big enough to go through those many matches. I mean, Ramos sitting in the finals. I mean, just confident and fat,
fat and happy. Yeah.
Fat and happy. I mean, he's going to be he'll be confident, and there won't a confident Ramos is bad for everybody else. This is going to give him a ton of confidence, some that he's lacked since obviously the trials. I think starting the trials, it wasn't there. So. Yeah, Tony Ramos, I think definitely maybe call me a Tony Ramos homer, but I think getting that confidence back is not going to be good for a lot of people. Now, Dan Dennis comes back, which I don't think we will. I guess I haven't been in the room to know if I know Dennis is working out, but is he in world team level shape? I don't know. The way he dominated Ramos, though, maybe he doesn't need to be in the best shape. So.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need to be working out he's older. He's got to take more care of his body. But
yeah. So let's go up to 61.
Yeah, let's go to 61. What's the biggest surprise for you, maybe?
Jeez, we're talking more, than Eric shares and Mac Ryder. I didn't think that could happen. But 61 kilograms, Brandon Wright. I
don't know where's he training now? Gosh dang it. I had this looked up.
Indiana, somewhere in Indiana.
Because that's where he's from, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where how long he's been out of the Grandview room, but guy with the talents, obviously NAIA, folk style. He's wrestled at Midlands. This was a breakout party for him, for sure. Cinderella story, whatever the heck you want to call it. Brandon Wright making the finals at 61 kilograms is a story of the tournament, I think. Kendrick Maple, I feel like he's 40 years old. I feel like he's been around forever. So for him to win it, come back and win it is huge. Joe Colon, he's a third seed, I believe. He was the third seed in this.
That's right.
But, Joe Colon was a third seed. Who did you have going into this tournament at this weight class?
Oh, I thought Maple was probably the best guy. I know Mac, he loved Jason Ness, but for as much as Iowa homers as we are, he's a big old Minnesota homer. So, no, I thought I was really intrigued about what Joe Colon could do in the bracket. Obviously, we didn't get to he finished 6th out there, but he's moving on to the World Team Trials. I think he kind of did a similar finish for when he was at 57 back in 2015 when he ended up finishing second to Ramos. So he could still be kind of ironing a couple things out. He's obviously moving up to a different weight. So we'll see what I'm still intrigued by what Cologne can do. Obviously, Logan Stieber is kind of a hammer to get through a best of 3 finals with, but I think he could still get through the 61 kilo challenge tournament.
It's hard to. I don't think anyone's beaten Stieber. No. I think this is a perfect weight class for him. 57, too small. Or too small for 65, too big for 57. Can't get down.
Yep.
Or he's going to die if he's down there. So, definitely Brandon Wright the story. Joe Colon. Don't know what to do, what to take away from that tournament for him. I don't know if he's hurt. I know he forfeited out to Seth Gross, so I'm not sure if he just kind of hung it up and obviously being able to, qualifying in the trials or what. Chris Dardanes from the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, that encounter that he had, when I think it's DeShauser, I don't know how the heck you pronounce it. Obviously, we butcher everything on this podcast, but what did you think of that exchange? First off, how was he still in the tournament? Because he threw some haymakers earlier in the tournament, and he ended up doing it again, throwing a big old slap to Dardanes.
Yeah, was it to Cody Brewer? Do you remember who did it?
It was Brewer. Yep, it was Brewer.
Yeah, oh man, I kind of wanted to slap him too, but the best part was when Chris Dardanes was gonna let him have it, big old Bobby Telford comes out on the mat, and that is probably one of the funnier things I've ever seen is, you don't realize how tiny those Dardanes boys are until they're standing next to 6'3" Bobby Telford. And he just dwarfed him, Bobby looked like he could have just picked him up, put him in his pocket. But and that's definitely who you want on your side if somebody's going to be slapping you on the mat, because I don't know, that's just stupid. I don't even know what else to say.
Hey, what are your thoughts on, can Dardanes, this is a kind of an open weight class, I think, as far as getting through that challenge bracket. Do you think Dardanes has a shot of beating guys like Brewer and Kindig?
I think he's just a little offensively limited for those guys that, like Brewer and Maple. They can just explode on you, and just score a bunch of points real quick. And whereas Dardanes, I feel like he's kind of like Marinelli, what we talked about earlier. He's just that constant pressure, that grind it. I don't know how good his parterre is compared to those other guys. I'd probably, rate it lower. So I don't know if he's got the firepower to make it through. Kind of wish Corey Clark was healthy enough to be in this weight, though.
I would. There you go. I mean, he's not going to be there, obviously. I haven't heard if he's getting surgery or what the timetable is on that. Kurt Crittenden, Critter K10 on Twitter, he's getting married this weekend. Big shout out to him. So Corey might be at his wedding. Maybe a lot of people don't know that Corey Clark is Kurt Crittenden's cousin. So maybe that's a big reason why Kirk is a big Iowa homer. So maybe we might be able to push Corey Clark and find out what's going on with him.
Corey's going to steal the show at Kirk's wedding.
Probably, yeah. Shoot. So going up a weight class, Nick Dardane's Kristoff's brother, he picked up 7th as well. I think this is a weight class that Dardane's doesn't have a shot at making a world team. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And this weight class is loaded. Rutherford, Oliver, Frank Molinaro, Jimmy Kennedy, Kellen Russell. This is a stacked weight class for the United States.
Yeah. What was it? Was it Rutherford, Oliver with the correct throw? How Oliver he won that to get to go into the finals versus Molinaro. Big boo ha ha over how that match ended. I don't really know what I think about the correct throw. I think it's
horrible.
But I don't know. Obviously,
no, you like it?
I don't know if I like it, but I don't. Freestyle, it's got all sorts of crazy intricacies. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it, I guess. Is what I'm really trying to get down to is I didn't care that that's how he won the match. If that's in the rules, should they maybe look at getting rid of it? I wouldn't lose a wink of sleep if they lose it. But if it's in the rules, maybe we'll see now that we had such a dramatic way to end a match with it. Maybe more guys will start trying to use that, and if people realize that it's really dumb, they'll get rid of it. But as it is now, man, use it to your advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Oliver was looking for just like try to get a correct throw. I mean, that was a legit judo move that he did. So that's pretty cool to see a little judo and freestyle. But I think it was a legitimate try. Oliver somehow didn't get exposed. Or Oliver, but Rutherford didn't.
That was the impressive thing.
Yeah. So, look at that match. I mean, somehow Rutherford is like going over and somehow does like a 180 the other way to not get exposed, which is a freaking freak to not be able to do that. So he should have been exposed, but he wasn't. So
craziness.
Craziness. So, all right. Let's move on. Okay.
Let's get to the talk of the tournament. Well, I mean, Brandon Wright was the feel-good story, but you know what everybody was talking about. Savage Pat Downey.
Yeah, you're gonna go clear up to the Downey. All right.
Well, unfortunately, Iowa didn't fare so well at 70-74. We can circle back if we got some time to talk about that.
James Green, Jordan Burroughs, obviously, man amongst boys.
My thoughts on 70 and 74 are I can't wait to watch some Green versus Nolf and Burroughs Dake in Lincoln, Nebraska. I think that's going to be, freaking amazing. But
yeah, I think Dake. I don't want to say he's a sore loser, but he definitely wasn't happy. That's for sure. I mean, he let the official. It was in the official's hand, I guess. I feel like he was doing a lot of the offense, but anyways, we'll skip over it. Pat Downey.
Talking about tossing dudes on their head. You're going to beat Gabe Dean if Iowa State let him wrestle. Everybody thinks he's a big old joke. And he shows up at the U.S. Open, man. 5th place. I think he beat like 6 All-Americans on the way. He beat Gabe Dean, man. Beat Gabe Dean.
Yeah, Gabe Dean. I mean, everyone's. I mean, Gabe Dean going out to that mat, be like, dude, what if I actually lost to Pat Downey? Like, how much crap am I going to get on social media for that? I don't think anyone did, but PD picked that up, and I think that just head explodes, got it done. Then he goes to David Taylor and didn't get to his offense like he has been. Pat Downey is great at freestyle. And I think sometimes his wind hasn't been there in the second half, but he's good at freestyle, and he has that. I think he's a better freestyler than folk styler, but obviously David Taylor dominates this weight class. So
here's my thing with people that they still can't understand why Pat Downey still has people that I don't know what you want to say, doubt him, hate him, whatever. And they're like at a loss. Like, he says he's going to beat Gabe Dean, and then he goes out and beats Gabe Dean. Like, what do you expect? Why are you still down on it? But the thing is after he lost to David Taylor, he still tweeted about how, David Taylor was more fresh. They made Pat Downey wrestle more matches. He's still got to find some reason why it wasn't entirely his fault. And wrestling Bo Nickel, he doesn't beat him there. He still talked about how he was going to toss Bo Nickel on his head. It's just, he does it purposely to make you guys hate him. And I don't know if people get that I'm pretty sure the only reason he's tweeting about the reason David Taylor beat him is because people like us and people on Twitter will tweet at him and talk about him. It's more conversation about Pat Downey. So, I don't think people should be at a loss for why people are still talking about, like, I can't believe Pat Downey still has haters. He wants them. He thrives on it, and good for him. But it's like, Don't be surprised.
Yeah, don't be surprised. He wants the haters. I mean, he is what our sport needs. I mean, as far as kind of creating that heel. I think some people don't like him based off of how much crap he talked about the Iowa State staff. What people didn't know really why he wasn't on the team. Obviously
can't fail drug tests. I mean, or not can't no-show drug tests. I should say.
Yeah, you cannot not show up. But that's a whole nother story. But I just so there's reasons why this is all. Some people don't like him because he's a liar. Some people don't like him because he's arrogant, which I love. I love seeing the confidence. When he came out and said that his Instagram was hacked or Snapchat was hacked or something like that, like, come on, dude. Like, this is just own it. Own you being Pat Downey. Like, you're a character. This is why people like you. So, but anyway, so he loses it to David Taylor, comes back. And he's going to be in Lincoln. He's going to be in Lincoln, and all the eyes are going to be on him. After Jordan Burroughs hits the mat, David Taylor. I mean, all eyes are going to be on Pat Downey a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, people were, as soon as the draw came out, everybody was looking who Pat Downey had first. So kudos to him. He's building up the hype, and he's making people. Take as soon as he won that first match, he had his people on Twitter tweeting at Christian Pyle saying, like, you owe Pat Downey an apology. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy, but good for him. I mean, he's created this following. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, granted, I don't necessarily agree with him, but I'm not going to have a problem with people, embracing that he is the heel or whatever, just let it be.
I mean, look at like the WWE. Like, as fake as it is, like, there's people that love the heels, and there's people that love to hate the heels, and those people are the guys that love the heels are so passionate. So when the heels win and they do good, they come out in droves, and they back up their boy, and 'cause that's their one time to talk smack. So I love it. I mean, that's why people like Ramos so much, or love to hate Ramos so much, because he's a heel. We need more of it. I mean, think about who do we really have that's a heel right now? In Greco, maybe Jesse Thilke, Robbie Smith. In freestyle, everyone loves Kyle Dake. Everyone loves Jordan Burroughs. No, he's not. I mean, Jordan Oliver, maybe.
I was gonna say maybe Oliver. That's about the best you can do, right? Oliver and Ramos.
J.O. Ramos.
I mean, nobody's saying smack about Nick Wisdowski. Think about Kyvan Gatson and the Burak brothers. I mean, has anybody got a bad thing to say about any of those guys?
Yeah. I mean,
no way.
And look how much Thomas Gilman, how much attention he got at the NCAA tournament because he was a heel. I mean, also he was number 1 ranked wrestler, great wrestler.
He's a media gold mine. That's what we know him as.
Yeah,
dude gave you a quote every duel. And you can't. I mean, he's always got something to say, and I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I want Gilman to come back on the mat as fast as possible. So
see him at Northern Plains.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about too, Bobby Telford. I think this is a weight class where if Bobby Telford goes to that single leg that we talked about when he was in college, you go to that single leg, he has a shot to get through this challenge bracket, I think. Gwizdowski, Zach Ray. I mean, Ray doesn't have any offense. I think Wisdowski and Bradley is going to be the guys that he has to get through. He went 2-1 with Bradley, had a great match. I think focus needs to be on how does he beat Nick Wisdowski. He's got to get to that offense, got to get to that freaking single leg. And I think Telford could be a sleeper. I could be a sleeper in Lincoln. Obviously, he's got to get through Kyle Snyder, but to get through the challenge bracket, I think he has a shot.
Wait, you said Kyle Snyder. He's 97.
Sorry, 90. Sorry. So this weight class is open. So Wisdowski's in the final. Sorry, I got mixed up.
Yeah,
so Gadsden's got to beat Snyder in the best of 3.
Which do you think that's possible? I mean, everybody's going to talk about that NCAA finals match up until Lincoln. Now that Gadsden's probably going to be the number 1 seed in that challenge tournament. So
it already got brought up in his post-match interview, which was pretty emotional. If you had a chance to watch that, I'll tell you a lot about who Kyvan Gatson is. But that's a matchup I think everyone wants to see again. I would guarantee Kyle Snyder wants that match again. But Kyvan said in his interview that, hey, I mean, I can't wrestle like I wrestle Micah Burak if I want to beat Kyle Snyder. Man, he's right. I mean, he's going to have to find more offense. He's going to have to move his feet a lot more because Kyle Snyder's he's going to keep coming after you. And beating Kyle Snyder, a lot of people – Kyle Snyder gets better the more that he wrestles you. So
it's probably – I thought you were going to say as he gets older because I was going to say that's because he's like 20.
Yeah. I mean, if he loses or he doesn't win by a lot the first match, he's going to come out and better the second one. He's very smart wrestler, and I think he studies his opponents really well. So I guarantee he was watching the U.S. Open to get some pointers on him. But I mean, so at heavyweight, I got a little confused there. Not sure what the hell I was thinking, but I mean, do you think Telford? I mean, do you think Telford could come away and beat Wisdowski or Ray?
I don't know. I kind of thought Wisdowski was going to be the future of this weight. I mean, I love Bobby Telford. I think he's a great guy. I just don't know if I don't know. I have a hard time picking against Gwiz right now. I don't know if I could.
He's solid. I just think that he does have a legitimate shot. I mean, we've already written off some of the guys from the Hawkeye Wrestling Club that we don't think have a shot. So I think to be fair, I think he does has a shot. So.
I think he's got a shot at making that national team, getting a stipend, and maybe going on some more trips sponsored by the USA Wrestling, going to Pan Ams, and I think that'd be really key for him to get more opportunities to get those international trips. So hopefully a good performance there in Lincoln gets him on that national team, gets him more opportunities.
So anything else from the Open from our seniors?
Don't think so.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Rachel Waters, Lauren Lovey, both finished 4th. Rachel Waters had just she's been doing a little rehab on her knee, so for her to come back, she kind of got whooped up a little bit by Tamara Mensah in the semis, but Mensah isn't human, so kudos.
She's something else too.
Yeah, she is still young. Still, Rachel Waters obviously still young, but I wanted to kind of finish this show with Jared Verclaren picking Penn State. There was a little hope that after, all of this buzz around Iowa State, all the stuff, we've been seeing on social media with Kevin Dresser, what they're doing, this team they brought in, that they could maybe get Verclaren back. They got Gomez to come back. I felt pretty good about them getting him. Penn State, though, did you think that was even a possibility with Berge there?
I had him booked to Minnesota. That's where I thought he was heading. I thought he was going to hang out with the old Jake Alar, former Iowa State signee that flipped his verbal with the regime change. But I thought that's where he was heading. Some rumors maybe the money wasn't there for him. And when you think about, maybe obviously Penn State, they got a lot of good talent in there. But when you factor in the in-state tuition versus out-of-state tuition, maybe that's kind of where it came down to money, because I can't imagine Penn State's got a lot to offer Verclaren. But so it had to come down to in-state versus out-of-state tuition if it truly came down to money. And, obviously the coach he's getting a hell of a lot better freestyle, coaching and partners when it comes to training than he would at Minnesota, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the rich get richer out of Penn State, PA. I don't know how the heck they're doing it. I would like to know what the math is on some of these guys, because it's impressive what the coaches are doing. Hands down, they deserve credit. Granted that everything is legitimate, and I don't know how the heck they're talking. How do they talk to a guy like Verclaren to come to that team with who else is there? Unless he's getting bigger or he can go down, where does he fit in this lineup?
I couldn't tell you. They got Manville, Lee. I think it's Nick Lee that's coming in. That's the bigger one. Then, like you said, Berge. They got so many guys at those middle weights. Whereas, honestly, yeah, like you said, Iowa State retaining him would have been pretty good. Obviously, Kanan Storr's proven his mettle on the freestyle. Looks like he could be a good partner to train with for years. You obviously got Metcalf and Zadok, two guys that have a lot of world team experience right at your weight class. I kind of would have thought that would have been a sweet spot for him, but I don't know what happened, why he ended up going away from Iowa State.
Well, it is what it is. It is what it is, I guess.
It is.
Anything else? This ended up going an hour.
This is one of our longest ones for you and me in a while, for sure.
Yeah, well, when you have stuff to talk about, it's pretty easy. The U.S. Open, obviously. A
lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Freestyle state.
Yeah, cadet states this weekend.
Yep.
Kurt Crittenden's getting married, like we mentioned earlier, so I'll be at the wedding. Lars will be at the wedding. You'll be at a different wedding. So it'll be interesting to see. We gotta get some coverage for those cadets.
We'll send Eric Shares so he can come on with you, Mac Ryder, next week. Yeah. Give his thoughts from Cadet State.
I wish we were streaming it, but Iowa USA Wrestling.
We'll get that. We'll get
it. So let's episode 87 of Potentially Dangerous, presented by My House. Let us know in this in the comment section, if you're watching this live, what you thought of this new format. We used to do this live, but not on Facebook. So this is a different style for us, and it'll make us easier to have different hosts on and different guests. I think will be kind of cool for you. So if you like this version, if you like watching it live at 8 o'clock, or if you have a different time that you think would be better, hit us up in the comment section. Love to hear from you. Hit us up on Twitter at Hager Tony, at Ross Bartchek.
Ross Bartchek.
Ross Bartchek. Or Bartchek is way too long. Can't fit that in. Ross Bartchek, BCHE. Yeah. Or at IA Wrestle. Hit us up and be happy to make this something that you guys can plan into your day. So for Tony Hager, Ross Bartchek, everybody else at IA Wrestle, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.